Hello people, and welcome back to part 6 of Thessia, our Australia-inspired build. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. We're going to get started today by doing some more mock natural resource fields around the edge of Valkyrie. We're actually done now in Valkyrie, the town is finished, and I want to head over to a new part of the map today to establish a new fun touristic town against one of the beachfronts on the Thessian island chains. And also a little bit of network prep to help ourselves get over there too. So please enjoy the hyperlapse, and I'll catch you guys on the live play. So last episode I mentioned that we were going to be setting up on this beach over here. However, on second reflection, I think I'd actually rather keep this larger beach as a bit more natural. We will build some things out here, and I'd love to hear from our Aussie subscribers what you guys find by these larger beaches that aren't, well, that don't have a town based around them basically. So let me know. But for today's episode, we're going to be setting up the new town of Sentinel, again referencing our Thessia name. To build out here, around this beach primarily, going to do a lot of tourism around here, some fun beach stuff. Not today, we're really going to be doing a road network stuff today. Also preparing our cargo rail to come through here as well for some eventual industry based around Sentinel. And there's also a couple of little beaches around here. Maybe we can do sort of a beach that isn't known to the tourists. One more for the locals might be quite fun. And of course, we need to plan an eventual connection over to the volcano island. So is this going to be a bridge or a ferry? Not entirely sure yet, you guys will have to let me know. I think we are going to be using a lot of trams, so it might be a fun excuse to use the new tram ferry hub to get out of here. But lots of fun to be had. Let's start, shall we? So, kind of a classic city start. We've got a rail on the line. Let's see what we can do with some road network planning for a brand new town, shall we? So with the new town of Sentinel, the beach is very much the king, right? I've been waiting to get out to the beach for a long time. Should have some eventual fun beach detail in here. So I want to use public transport. We didn't really do much of it in Valkyrie apart from a couple of bus lines. So Sentinel's going to be a touch bigger, and I think we're going to go for a wide bluestone tram to kind of flank the beach and provide a little bit of pedestrianisation here. So let's go ahead and get this set up. Really just looking for it to hug that sand line, and we'll create the arc longer than we need it for right now. It's not going to run for the whole beach, but it at least gives us that structure to play with, I think. So we'll have that there. So back to our 4-lane roads, and I'd like also cycling to be part of Sentinel's setup. So let's go ahead and use some of the bike lanes here, and let's see what's happening. Do we want to go for kind of draw these roads up here so we can get that cross section? Okay, so let's start discussing Sentinel's waterfront. So I want to do something a bit more interesting with the roads here. So because this is going to be a main street and feed back up into some sort of roundabout eventually, I'd like to actually upgrade into some of our cute parking roads that we used in Valkyrie as well. These are really nice. So we'll have this a bit of a main street, but then what I do want to happen is to actually have a bit of parallel action. So we're using it with multi-tool to set this up. Let's grab the parallel mode. And I guess we'll go 2-lane road with trees, why not? So we'll do left to right for what we need, and let's go to about here. Let's actually go the other way, right to left instead. I just want to bring this out, so not directly up against the tram road. I'm happy to leave a little bit of room. That should be okay. Again, probably surface painter, I imagine here will fill that in for us pretty helpfully. Yeah, plenty of room for waterfront props down here as well, isn't there? Nice little merge down onto the tram pedestrian road before you hit the sand is the vibe we're trying to create here at least. Cool. But with this road here, rather than it just ending, or let's actually see if we can node control it into this big center point here. And then I want to do that same function again with the road here. So let's go from this one up to this one. And we'll set a little bit of distance between. With multi-tools, just incredibly handy, isn't it? One of the best mods. Thank you, McSurgery. And then we got the same distance here, 10 units, that's going to be absolutely fine. And then we want to come into node controller and square everyone off here really, and that's perfect, isn't it? That's exactly how we want it. Of course it's not, that's absolutely horrific. So let's start messing about with this. Probably a little bit of master offset is going to be helpful. Let's bring our main blue node down. Also square everybody off too. So this is quite wide for what I was initially thinking, but it really opens up the waterfront, doesn't it? Especially once this is detailed and we have access to the beach. I think having that quite wide network is going to be quite handy. And there's probably going to be some nice intersection marking tool opportunities around here as well. So we'll run with that. And we can already see like how great the view down to the volcano, which by the way, we will now take official suggestions for the naming of Thessia's volcano. Please get them in the comments of this episode and we'll put it to a poll. But you know, what a great view they have, right? Main Street really frames that volcano, doesn't it? Super cool. So we'll get a more appropriate tree based on these later on. But it's going to be fine for right now. So let's actually come back to the main road of the town, and we want this to go onto our angle snap as well. So probably about there. It's going to be a good point for our roundabout to form, isn't it? So use roundabout builder, and we'll increase the size to... That should be good, I think. We'll go for that one. And then you will come down here. Awesome. So we'll have that main street parking. I imagine we'll probably continue up for a little bit here as well. Just so there's more sort of commercial and tourism place you can come to buy surfboards or fishing rods, etc. if you're visiting sort of Sentinel as a tourist. Then this is where it would all be based. And of course, lots of node controller and intersection marking tool nuances available. So we will have to see if we can replicate the design that we did for Valkyrie where we did the V. I'm not entirely sure how we would do an S for Sentinel, but maybe we can come up with another pattern. It's going to be quite fun, but we'll see what happens with intersection marking tool during the time lapse. So I mentioned as well that this is going to be an industrial line, this train line on the right, so we'll definitely get involved in a separate industrial build to help serve the town once indeed it does actually exist. Cool, so now we know where all this is establishing, we can just trim things back a little bit so it flows a little bit more organically. And types of roads will probably ever so slightly shift and change as the build grows here today. But it's really just all about getting that skeleton frame established so we can start building in some new themes over this side of the town. How do these workshop roads actually behave with a rail crossing through them? Is this going to be absolutely horrific, or do we not mind this? It's not great, is it? That is not how rail crossings work in the real world. Alright. How about here at this junction? Would you behave yourself here? Okay, I kind of don't mind that. It's kind of cool the way it does that. Although 4 lane is not the hierarchy here. I imagine we probably want to come down into 2 lane here. How would the 4 lane road look? I guess it should really be 2, shouldn't it? Yeah. Okay, let's go for 2 then. It looks like we can tolerate the rail crossing here. I'm happy to have them come through the town. And then we'll definitely continue this to go straight on, along with this particular bit of road, which will remain cycling. We'll have this just run through the town and eventually imagine out the other side of it. This will probably hold some sort of bridge crossing if we do eventually have one. I'm not sure if we're going to do a rail bridge over to the volcanic island. It might just be ferry. Again, let me know down below what you think. Yes, and then this will also continue out this way too. Hello, random grids. You alright, City Skylines? What's going on there? Just a random bit of grid in the middle of nowhere. That's fine. That's okay. Just accept it. Right, and then let's hit some guidelines of this network going back through. And we should be okay. Hopefully the train police were actually quite happy last episode. My gradients were all apparently okay. Cool, so we can use that as an edge of our sort of main street commercial bit and have some general residential lying out this way. I'm tempted to use the Seaside Resorts one again, just because it's got such a cute Aussie vibe. You know, I don't really want a massive station here. I don't know, maybe we need to go to the workshop and find some new stations. I feel like I'm going to be using this one all the time for Thessia's build. And then we'll provide some kind of temporary road connection until we come to develop at the front of our station. Perhaps a couple of markets outside of this might be quite nice. Something like that. Okay. But what that does actually allow us to do is, for the first time, to see a passenger train flowing in Thessia. So let's actually get this set up back to Valkyrie. So, I'd stop, are you okay? Can you not come down here? Yeah, shoot the egg, that's not even bloody connected, is it? I was like, wait a minute, have I done something wrong? Yes, yes we have done something wrong. You alright now? Let's try this one again. So, I'll say again, for the first time everyone, it should be fun to see a passenger train flowing through Thessia for the first time. So, let's go ahead and get that set up. Where are you going to spawn in? Yeah, wonderful. So let's change the line. High speed train I imagine would be cool. Or maybe we should go and get some Aussie trains off the workshop as well. Well, that's going to be really cool to finally see some passenger trains flowing. Let's get a little example of what we're like here, kind of flowing through the Thessian countryside with all these parallel networks now. Very exciting. Very exciting. I think with also this road down here, this is also going to be another national road connection at some point in the future, but we're a long way away from establishing that yet. It's probably going to stop at a couple more towns out here by these beaches, and of course the lighthouse over here too. But a long way away, yeah, anyway. Cool, so that's giving us rail and a little bit of waterfront action happening right now, which is great. Let's go ahead now and start getting our trams set up and see what we can do with some public transport. So it looks like Anna Roberts has taken a really badly wrong turn. She's come all the way out to Sentinel just to go back to Valkyrie. You alright, Anna? You're going the long way around. Where are you going? Oh, are you taking the train? No, you're not. Oh, no, you are. You are taking the train, Anna. Very, very interesting. Isn't that weird how the AI has chosen to do that? Why? Surely that's so much slower than just drive. I mean, you've come through. These guys have come from Valkyrie already to drive to Sentinel just to get the train back to Valkyrie. Alright. Well, we'll not read too much into why the AI is behaving like that, but it's fine at least, right? At least there's people actually driving out here. So let's do some public transport spices, would be quite fun. So let's have a look at one of the new hubs, because there was a new one added with the update. I think it's this one, isn't it? The ferry tram hub is the one that I'm after. Now, if this is going to be a touristic beach, I don't really want ferries passing back and to around it, so I don't really want to stop here. I think it's going to make much more sense to have the stop probably here, isn't it? Cool. Let's also use Move It to bring this down to a sensible height. I don't want people jumping like 1,000 miles into the water to get onto the ferry. Something like that should do, as I reckon, shouldn't it? As long as we're not flooding. That's going to be nice and happy. Oh, hello, random camera flip, as always. Welcome to the channel, everyone. Cool. So, let's grab some tram roads, and we'll start mapping out exactly where our tram system is going to flow. So, our tram roads come up through this way. Let's also remove some of our trees. So, we're going to need a little bit of an descent here, aren't we? So, we want to be at -10 here. Let's come up with 15 should give us a sensible shout, I think, shouldn't it? And then we'll also climb back up. Which should give us some cool detail opportunities here with the landmass, I think. It's already nice to start to create layers, especially with public transport networks and whatnot. And probably a slope with move it is going to be needed, right? It looks like there's some fun to be had here, isn't there? Let's go ahead and grab those tram roads again. And we'll just trim these guys back a little bit. And then we'll use them as an excuse to kind of connect into the tram roads here. And create at least one resolution point for the tram line down this end of the town. So we will curve in like this. And then hopefully a little bit of small pedestrian tram road. Not entirely sure how this will look, but it gives us an opportunity to do some fun network node control things. Is the wide one probably better? I think it probably is, isn't it? And again, we can square this off, and offsets where appropriate will help the junction look just that little bit more important. So go ahead and drag some of these guys around, and let's close the offset on our red friend as well to get rid of that tearing. And then we'll remove those as well. Cool, so that brings it to a pretty natural conclusion, doesn't it? And then the tram can feed down into the ferry stop, where of course it can meet a ferry. And then it's going to now leave this side of the town, and then come back up. So we'll have this meet here, and then I definitely want trams to come up and toward the train station, so we'll do that as well, we'll factor that in. And then it looks like this just wants a regular suburban connection, and we can probably actually plan in that journey toward the locals beach that I talked about. Again, any Aussies that have that sort of vibe near them that would like to suggest a place for inspiration for a little sort of out of the way locals beach that the tourists don't know about, please let me know, because that'd be some great inspiration to find, and we can plan for that to happen over here at some point. Cool, so this is now allowing the tram loop to resolve itself. It's going to come back up through here. We'll have a couple of conflicting tram lines as well. So again, just want to test these workshop roads and see exactly how they behave with a tram line going through them. It's probably not going to be a good thing, is it? No. In that case, then I'm wondering if we feed it through the roundabout, and then we can do some fun detailing here with nodes and whatnot come, well, when it's time to, I guess. Cool, so we'll allow 4 tiles around this space for any commercial ideas to develop that we want to play with. We can do that here. And then it's going to stop outside the train station. Of course, this is all a rough frame right now. Exact. We might even end up switching this out for pedestrian road, or it might come tram road with actual road. You know, we'll see what happens with it. Cool. Still surprised by the amount of people driving out to Sentinel just to take the train back. Where are you going? You didn't even take the train. Do you just work here? No. You're driving to a parking lot. Okay. I don't know what is up with them, but we'll make it work anyway. Cool, so let's mimic the angle here if we can. So let's go for 10 units. That's going to be 650. Do that same thing over here again as well, with no road guideline ideally. Cool, so again, touch on node controller here, straighten everyone out. We need to do touch more offset in here as well. This is going to make IMT a little bit more challenging on this roundabout, but it should be fun. It should lead to some unique designs at least, I think, shouldn't it? We'll also do the other markings while we're off here as well. Fantastic. So we'll have a tram roundabout, which will be a lot of fun to decorate. I guess we'll also have to leave the traffic lights here as well, won't we, if there's trams passing through. I'm not sure. We'll cover that when we get to it. Cool, and then we can cut this through the rest of the build and sort of let's eye up roughly where we want our tram pedestrian road to end. Don't really need it coming all the way down here. Probably here, I imagine, will be a decent shout for it. So let's connect them in. And then we'll hit that guideline. That can come down. And then that road can flow off the waterfront and into whatever is going to lie over this way. I want to get some relatively fancy residences around here, so maybe these guys can be located down towards the quieter end of the beach. And something of a lookout point, I guess. This would be a pretty popular point to sit and chill with the volcano, wouldn't it? Which isn't something I ever thought I would say when we started the City Skylines video, but there we go. Big shout out to Eggsy and Karina for giving the map a volcano, such a cool touch. I really can't wait to get stuck into that. Maybe some sort of I don't know, geological research station build is in order on the island. I've no idea what's happening over there yet. Cool, but we're starting to see this frame establish itself now. We've got this waterfront ready to go. I think where the tram does indeed terminate, actually extending the pedestrian road away from its tram origins might be quite appreciated. If we just keep it running parallel a little bit. Yeah, I don't think I particularly hate that. And that does actually resolve the entire tram loop for the town, doesn't it? Cool, so let's go ahead now and find out where we're putting the station, because this asset's always a beast, and it's kind of important to factor into the build, I think, as well. I'm kind of thinking orientated up against the line here. Should we see if we can do that? Let's go ahead and get some tram road. We'll just use this one for right now. And if we need to change it at a later date, we can. Let's just go over here, and then we'll try and position it up this way. Should hopefully give me the look that I'm after. Yeah, that's what I wanted. So if we have this here, that's going to position quite nicely, I think, against that rail line. Gives us an opportunity to do some slightly more industrious detailing out this side if we want to. But it's also going to help form sort of part of our main street as well. You know, you can see that larger building there. I think I'm going to be mostly happy with that, I think. Cool, let's have it there. And then, of course, we will need to go ahead and upgrade a few segments of road into tram road. Again, exactly what's going to happen with at the front of the train station. We'll have a little look at that in a second. So let's go ahead and get these trams flowing now. So everyone should be happy, I think, here at this point. So let's go ahead and have... I guess really before we do that, I kind of should configure the front of the train station here. So let's do that. Let's remove this little connection. And then we will get a road here. So we're not quite in line with the front, are we? Let's go for about there. And then we'll get a one-way and two-lane road. So what's the distance here? 5 units. Let's go for 4. So we'll do 4, and then we'll do tiny 2 curve, and then back into the front. Okay, and then we'll bring that one just like that. Just amend any inconsistencies. And then we'll also do that same thing again on the other side. That should give us a nice little, essentially mini roundabout at the front of the train station, right? So we'll do, we just want tiny 2 curve, and then 4, and then we can delete the central bit. And that gives us a little bit of a song and dance around here, doesn't it? And then hopefully we can, I guess actually we don't need that tram road there, do we? I can just siphon a tram connection there so it remains connected, because I don't really want the tram wires directly out front of the station here. So let's actually just totally remove that, and the workers can have access down there. And we'll probably want to do a bit of asymmetry around here as well. Have that one facing in there. That one back out as well. Cool. And then we'll just hide all of our markings so the roads aren't looking quite as busy. Something like that. And then any master offsets we can do here. You have to be careful when we're working with tight road networks like this, because nodes will start getting too close together and the game will die. Cool. So that sort of resolves what I want to happen here. That's going to be fine. Let's go ahead and get those trams flowing now, see where we want them to stop. So of course, one outside of the train station would be grand, and then we'll do another one before we come back into I'm playing left-hand traffic, aren't I? Let me remember that for once. Yeah, so we'll stop again before we enter the suburbia frame, which will happen here, and we'll probably do 1, 2 here. Stop it again outside of the ferry terminal, and then as it enters the pedestrian district, and then it can stop a couple of times along the waterfront. Let's go for that one. And then again, and it's kind of passed through the suburbia frame. Actually, do we want to do that? I guess we could. I guess it might be kind of cool to have the tram stop in the middle of the roundabout. We'll see how that works out. And then we can complete that line. And then we will, of course, mimic it the other side. But for right now, I'd like to go ahead and grab the tram model. So we can say that... Oh, should we use the OE trams? OE trams are quite nice, to be fair. What capacity are they? I don't even know. 210? It's not bad. Yeah, then we can have these OE trams around here. Let's actually move this building back onto the same height as this node. There we go. Okay, that way we don't really need to worry about the line colour. We can just have the OE trams flowing around. And big shout out to Blue Thunder for these, even though they are going to Navaria lane, which is so cool. Yeah, I do love these trams. Big shout out to the Ride collection. If you haven't seen them, go check out Blue Thunder's stuff. I don't think there's any better sort of public transport vehicle maker on the workshop than Blue Thunder. So Sentinel already with its public transport vibes and sightlines is really starting to become quite satisfying, isn't it? Really enjoying seeing the tram stop in the middle of the park here. I gone ahead and service painted the whole thing up as well, so we could do some stands here, maybe a little bit of commercial, some statues, a couple of benches, and maybe some trees and some planters to decorate out a roundabout here. Should be quite a lot of fun. But it's cool. Very enjoying it. There's something I want to try here with IMT before we carry on sort of expanding some road networks and heading towards a time lapse. And that's this little space here. So I want to see if we can actually make a filler to come up this way and fill the internal road of the trams, which it can. So yes, I do want stripes, but I want your angle to change so we can have them like that, I think. Maybe a little bit more. And then let's make them a yellow. More of an orange, isn't it? Let's go for a touch lighter. And then can we bring the opacity down? Just so it kind of fades. It's pink. That's not what I'm after at all. There we go. Yeah, just bring that opacity down. Just so it's like, you know, don't stop here if you're driving down, because you will be T-boned by a tram if you don't move. I think that should be quite a nice little accent onto this big node, isn't it? Which is going to need a bit of IMT to help it settle in. I imagine we'll probably also have a touch of fun with some of these lines coming up this way, etc., with dotted lines and whatnot, but we'll figure that out in the time lapse because it takes me a little while to wrap my head around what's going to happen with different IMT sections as the city grows. Bit more node control there as well, I think. Cool, so let's make sure that these are the same here. Let's go for 20 meter offset on these ones that don't have any pedestrian or public transport lines on them. And I'm not sure about the traffic lights. Should they remain, or should it just be a yield sign? I don't know, because it's not really causing no traffic. Here comes an Aussie police car. Wonderful. These guys have driven from Valkyrie. The crime at one of the train stations. No, just patrolling. Alright, that's fine. Cool. So let's return to this main cycle road here that's starting to leave town now. So, if at all possible, I'd like to actually come down into a touch shorter, and then I think I want to grab the 3-lane cycling road here, and then we'll set the roundabout up using this one. So you will become 3-lane cycle road, just so that cycling hierarchy continues. And then with you, you are going to come from this side up and out. And I don't really know what lies over this side of Sentinel yet, but we will get there eventually, of course. Probably a lot of suburbia, I think. Maybe a bit more farming out this way. Kind of got the space for lots of fields, haven't we? And then with this rail line, this will also now start to follow this road out of town. And again, what I imagine will happen at some point is that this train line will eventually meet back up with this one that passes through some sort of non-existent industrial area to eventually join back parallel like they have done over here to flow into some sort of eventual capital city space that's going to occupy a lot of this coastline here in the big bay. We're eventually planning a lot of our high density. Looks like we've got some full garbage, that's fine. Go ahead and reset this with move it. You can also do the same thing with cemeteries as well. You don't need to wait for them to empty if you're playing modded. Just reset them. Cool. But how are we thinking of Sentinel right now? Is it sort of starting to piece together, isn't it? It's not too bad. It's starting to see that skeleton frame. A lot of the time maps today is going to be sketching out those kind of suburban holding roads. Which is fine. Let's go ahead and bring you a non-tram road as well. Something like that. Wonderful. Cool, and then we will continue the cycling hierarchy off of the roundabout with just a 2-lane here. I don't want to have these huge 4 lanes going all over the place if we can help it. I guess grass median might be nice. Let's have this one come in out this way, and then you can just continue to flow down and into this area, which will go down to the locals beach, again away from the tourists, because all the Sentinel tourists hate the fact that this is swarming with, well, I guess all the Sentinel residents hate the fact this is swarming with Sentinel tourists. That makes sense, right? It's late in the day here, you have to bear with me. I love this. This is like the best bit of the city so far, this little filler. I really like that. It's very cute. So let's establish some more road hierarchies here. So this 4-lane here would probably do quite well just coming down into this area. And then I would like it to connect onto the pedestrian street. Can we do that? How weird does that look? Very weird, doesn't it? Yeah, and that pedestrian street is at the very limit of how and where it can be stretched. Which I guess looks quite weird, does it? I don't know. At least there's a connection. People will walk back and onto it, which would be quite cute. Although having just seen how that's generated with the bollards, we can see we are going to have to do a significant amount of bollard detailing to stop people from just driving onto the pedestrian street here, which should be quite fun. Can we change these trees too? What tree do we want to go for? Not that. It's way too tall. Tempted to go for a gum. Or maybe we should use some of these cabbage trees. Oh, actually this actually might be an excuse to finally use the royal palm that I've been waiting for an excuse to use. I guess a touristic waterfront would be the place to find these sorts of trees, wouldn't it? So let's see what we think of that. It's a general concept. Yeah, I don't hate that, I don't think. I think it's alright. It'll do a job anyway, won't it? Gives us a slightly more prestigious looking waterfront with those royal palms on there. But it is slowly coming together, isn't it? And all that really remains to do now is to kind of sketch out some suburbia frame. So we've got roads to hold our actual buildings for next episode. Again, all of which is going to be taken from Google Earth. Just for help inspiration of how things sit and sort of judging scales of things for towns especially. I definitely want this town to be sort of a bigger population than Valkyrie was. So we spent, what, 5-6 episodes out here building Valkyrie. So hopefully we'll probably be out here for probably about 10 episodes, we hope. Expanding the entire scope and design of Sentinel as it grows out. But otherwise, let's get things detailed. A lot of INT, node controller and road sketching to do. And also some fun roundabout detailing of these ends. And also want to do some IMT to bring these cycle lanes in together as well, so they kind of flow from roundabout onto road as well. So lots of fun. Let's have some detailing and then we'll be right back. let's have a detailing review, shall we? So, around our National Road roundabout, we've done some really simple and quite minimalistic IMT, with some island fillers, quick lane maths, feeding people back onto the road, and that of course goes back to Valkyrie. And it's nice to see this lane down here getting a little bit of use now as well. People are actually using the banana egg interchange to its full potential, which is always nice. Then yes, they come down, right? Lots of countryside details to do here as well, which I think we'll be doing on our live streams, because there's just so much empty space, so we can definitely go and explore some Aussie countryside and see what we can do. With Thessia's empty hills, train comes over the top with hopefully a sensible train gradient for the train, please, of course. And don't forget to let me know what you want nearby this big beach. You know, what do you find by these beaches in Australia that don't have towns around them? I'd be interested to know. And then we arrive into the town of Sentinel alongside our parallel rail networks, and they're ever so slightly further recessed into the ground than the road. And it's a very subtle difference, but makes a world of difference again, doesn't it? Just yeah, I really like that. Wasn't kind of intentional, just a happy accident. Then we arrive into the town, where we arrive at some basic IMT and a couple of slit roads where we can see a police car now taking this shortcut entry into the town, if indeed you want to bypass the roundabout. Gone a little bit more freeform here, with what I will eventually imagine to be suburbia once we have that residential demand for Sentinel. We'll have out here some basic node control junctions, remove the markings, and then also planned for an eventual lookout point in here with a little cul-de-sac. This should be quite a fun little park build. I think we'll probably make this part of the beach episode. Then our pedestrian road now curves in, has been fully surface painted, and again we'll get lots of different commercial vibes along here. Probably next episode will work on the beach. Really desperate to do a beach build with mods. It should be quite a lot of fun. And then our real palm pattern surface painter also dropped in a beach volleyball court here as well, just to help draw sims to the area so we could see things in motion. But expect this to move come that episode. Also a fire station over on the corner here as well, which has been node controlled, where the road meets the tram and the pedestrian road. And just node controller is very quickly becoming one of my favourite mods. This makes junctions so much more realistic, doesn't it? When they're all stretched out and warped like this. Super cool. I love node controller. And then we arrive at the frontage, where I've tried to do some IMT to paint in the lines that the cars should follow, should they indeed enter onto this one. They can take a number of different patterns out here. Commercial will eventually, of course, follow up here. And then also prepared a little bit of pedestrian space too. I kind of want back-to-back commercial all along this front, and wanted to actually pedestrianise some of it as well. So expect that to be factored into the eventual build once it happens. Coming down to our roundabout, use some of Vanya's brick planters as a fence, with some planters and trees and junipers. Pathways leading up to the tram stops with some fountains and surface painter, and a really happy roundabout design. Super happy with this. And then of course all factors in and people feed off and drive around everywhere. It's really cool, just so much fun to watch. Also placed in a very temporary cargo station over here as well, which will probably be relocated into Sentinel's industrial build, again once that exists, but for right now it will provide import and export for Sentinel, rather than having to go all the way back to Valkyrie to get out of the city, essentially. Then we come down Main Street, which has had its cycling integrated onto it, trams flowing through with a bit of car parking. A bus depot down here as well next to the tram depot for some eventual bus lines. And this is a really nice happy merging, just nice little connection next door here. Also dropped in some intercity bus action, ready to receive said tourists. And a little bit of pathway spice here as well, which feeds back to the train station. And we are actually getting people using the train back and to from Valkyrie, which is really nice to see. So happy that that's getting used, and then also created a pedestrian crossing outside of the station, so people can just easily cross back over there. And then done that pathway trick as well, so people are actually walking across this concrete forecourt outside the intercity bus station. So really giving us kind of a public transport centre, and then also use some bus pedestrian road here as well to hold the intercity bus station. So hopefully one day, we haven't actually had any arrive yet, which is starting to concern me. Yeah, there's been no intercity buses. I haven't really noticed them on the national road either. So I'm guessing it's actually probably just a case of we don't have that much attraction for tourists yet. So the current tourist capacity has been handled by the trains is what I'm believing the issue to be, is what we hope it is anyway. But either way, we will eventually have intercity buses arriving into Sentinel one day. So plenty more commercial vibes and detailing to be fleshed out around this kind of central town centre space for Sentinel, which is really nice and super functional now. Also dropped in a service point here as well, because of course this does require a pedestrian area point because it's on the pedestrian road. Then we come down Main Street and then we arrive at some of my favourite IMT. It might not be totally accurate, but boy do I have a lot of fun putting these together. So I tried to extend the bike lanes in and off the roundabout so it hopefully makes some amount of sense so people can carry on cycling around Sentinel, which again I really want that to be kind of a theme. We didn't really have cycling in Valkyrie, but Sentinel definitely love their bikes. And then also try to do something a bit more complicated over here with lots of different rule changes and intersection marking tool, and then some lines as well where we're cutting across the junction just to kind of give that priority to the bikes as they cycle around the town, and then meet back up with tram lanes and come down towards the ferry over here. And of course this will all be fleshed out to be towns and residential high school campuses and whatnot. So a lot of fun to be had out here as well one day. I'm wondering if we should actually maybe make Sentinel a university town. I think we're probably due a campus at this point, aren't we, with our demands surely? Yeah, we need an elementary school for sure. And then yeah, we definitely need a campus, so let me know if you think Sentinel should become a university town. It might be a little small for a university, but we'll let you guys decide anyway. And then again, some really basic, minimalistic IMT as we move back down towards that ferry tram hub, which isn't really active yet because there's no reason for people to come down here, apart from these two people. But otherwise, guys, that is going to do it for today. Let's thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed it, likes, comments and shares below really do help me out and bring more people to the channel equally as much. If you haven't enjoyed it, then please feel free to leave me a dislike as well. Really happy with Sentinel's frame and a couple of builds to come in here. Let me know if you think we should include anything specific, things like university campuses. But really looking forward to getting stuck into a brand new town next episode. We'll definitely work on that beachfront, which will be a ton of fun. Really can't wait to get involved in a big touristic Australian themed beach. So expect that to come next week. Please do enjoy some brief cinematics of the new layout here today, but we'll shut up and leave it there. Let's thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.